It's plenty of pull up a pew, boy. Good morning, shed brethren, brothers and sisters of the combustion engine. Right, beverage. Hazelnut coffee today. From a company called Beanies on Amazon, and for about 12 quid you get a selection of flavoured coffees in jars about that big. They're delicious. There's even some decaf, and I can't tell the difference, but yeah, nice, mint and all that bollocks. Anyway, this is not a food review channel. It's a good job because right, I booked, today's Tuesday, Tuesday the whatever, 20th, Tuesday, yeah, 20th, because it's my birthday on Friday. 52, and I know I still look 30. Right, I managed to book the Aprilia in for an MOT up at the usual place yesterday. I actually had no idea that the bike shop is actually closed on a Monday, and he wasn't going to answer the phone, but he did. And I said if I would have known it was me, I would have put the fucking phone down. Anyway, it's the Aprilia is booked in for 8:30 Saturday morning. So I thought, cock on. There's only a couple of little jobs to do on the Aprilia. I've got to secure the wiring for the rear brake light, put the side, secure the rear brake hose in one place. Just use the guide that's on the hose and then crimp it down on the original crimp. That should all be good, and ideally get the side cover off and replace the gasket for the proper one, and then it is pretty much ready. It's pretty much ready. Everything works. So it could quite easily, within about an hour, be ready for its MOT. And then I got home and I had a letter waiting from the DVLA, because obviously I've applied for the logbook on the Aprilia. No documentation came with that at all, which is the first time I've ever done anything like that. Usually if somebody says no V5 on the sale or anything like that, I would avoid it with a barge pole, because how my head works is, well, you've bought a bike, why haven't you registered it? But that's it. Anyway, I had a letter from the DVLA that said they're going to start to process my application. It's going through, but they're going to start and process it on the 28th. So that means even if I go and MOT the Aprilia, I still can't use it till the end of the month, because the logbook won't be here until early March, and you can't tax it without the logbook, because I haven't got any green slip or anything like that. So, plan B, I've charged the battery up on the ZZR, the original battery. It's all good, but she's absolutely not getting any fuel. I took the fuel cap off the other day, and the breathers on the fuel cap, which you absolutely must have, were blocked, completely blocked. Not solid packed, just I got me picky wicky in there and just went beep and cleared them out. And now you can blow, if you can blow through the keyhole, dirty boy, if you can blow through the keyhole, that means the tank can breathe, because as the engine is trying to, or the fuel pump, whatever, Tinkle is trying to suck fuel, air needs to enter the tank at some point, usually through the cap. Sometimes there's a vent, like an external racing style vent. You'll see it a lot on dirt bikes. You'll see the pipe coming out the cap. If it doesn't vent, the tank goes into a vacuum state, and then it doesn't get any fuel at all, because the power of the pump or the carburetors sucking the fuel and gravity is too weak, and so the vacuum in the tank overcomes it. Fuel flow stops. It's like turning the fuel off. If you have a motorbike which will start fine, but then will only run a minute or so, and then it will conk, and it will do that repeatedly, it's usually a fuel tank vent that's blocked, because it can't pull the air. So I've done that, and I put the new battery on when I got home from work last night. Well, the freshly charged, and span it over. I'm not even getting the slightest coffee tinkle out of it. So I'm thinking, and John did warn me about this, and the bike shop warned me about this, bare minimum it's going to need the carbs pulling apart. So that is going to be my job today. I've only ever done one ZZRE model. I've got one running for somebody years ago, and that had been stud, and no life would issue from that bike. So I ended up taking the carbs off that, cleaning it, putting it back together, and it ran. It then went to a local bike shop, not the one I use, who originally stated that it couldn't be made to run, but there you go. He wanted to know how I'd got it running, which was just a simple carburettor clean. And I can remember actually getting the carbs on and off wasn't too much of a hassle, but the airbox was, because it's got ram air in it, and it's the first time there's like a special way it goes back together, and I knew a lot less then. This guy called himself, and he's trading as, and has been for many years, a bike mechanic, and he wanted to know how I got it running. It's a bit worrying, that. Anyway, beverage. So in a few moments, it is about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I've got the day off today, but as usual, if I've got something on the brain I can't sleep, I need to get up at a half reasonable hour and just mull the problem through. The process of getting the carbs off, side panels off, rear grab handle off, because that helps secure the side panels. Tank off, obviously, and the fuel pipe on the ZZR is a little bit of a weird design. I've never seen one like it since the other one, and it's a fuel tap, and it's got 3 pipes going to it. Well, traditionally you only have one, or one and a vacuum pipe, little vacuum pipe, but this has got 3, because the main feed for the tank is like over there, and a pipe connecting to it, and the reserve feed is like over here with a pipe connecting to it. So there's 2 feed pipes, and then the third one goes to the fuel pump, which then goes to the carburettor. Now we could, in theory, do away with the fuel pump completely, like we did with the ZX10, and just run a gravity line. I quite like the idea of that, because it removes the problem of a dicky fuel pump if they go dicky. This has had a new fuel pump, but it's been stood minimum 18 months. He bought it, he used it, he didn't get on with it, parked it. He's used to riding blackbirds and stuff like that, and after a blackbird, pretty much everything apart from a ZZR 14 and stuff is slow. So yeah, there is a good chance the pump has seized. They don't necessarily seize, because there's it's basically a diaphragm which is made to pulse, and I call it a ticker pump, because it's not a fuel pump that just goes free sound effect. It literally goes tick 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 tick, and it's there just to top the carburetors off for high speed running, because we're not going to be going 150 miles an hour all the time, like the ZX10. It really doesn't need a fuel pump. It will run, provided that fuel tap is above the float bowl height of the carburettor, it will run fine on a gravity feed. So that may be an option, but I am going to test the pump. I am going to get the carbs off, and we'll get all the jets out the carb, and we'll give them a go in the aqua jiggler and some acetate and stuff like that, and we'll see where we go from there, because I have a funny feeling every single one of them is going to be blocked just from standing. You only need the slightest bit of old fuel in it, beverage, and they'll all be blocked, but it's not even getting a cough out of it. So we'll have the plugs out as well. The coils partially obscure the plugs. The coils are on the inner frame rails and inboard of the engine, so they need to come off. We'll get the plugs out, we'll just clean the plugs, put them back again. We'll check for spark while we're there, but I'm pretty certain, just like the Aprilia, it's a fuel issue. Right, so that's nearly 11 minutes of waffling before we get on to the rampant action. So I should bring you back when I'm ready to pull the carbs. Yes. Yes. Right, so meet Red the Z. I know you've had a very quick look, but let's just take you out of your. Yes, I am actually filming on a tripod today because I am professional. Quite a tidy. Yes, it's got road grime and shit on it, but this is how I want to see a bike that I'm having. I don't want to see it highly polished in a showroom, but I have noticed a lot of bike showrooms I have frequented in the last couple of years for a coffee and stuff, is that quite a lot of their Part X's that come in are shown as they've come in, so you can get a rough idea of sort of the maintenance expectations of the last owner, etc, etc. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. The only thing that bugs me, OCD and all that lot, the lock is missing out of the little cubby hole, which was designed for you to put, earplugs and shit like that in. Original one's 50 quid from Kawasaki. I've got a funny feeling and a cabinet lock would fit that. Anyway, fit and finish of the panelling is not perfect, which is what we don't expect it to be, but she's got an original 31,827 miles at the minute. And one thing I do adore about this model ZZR, twin trip meters, so you can have your mileage for the day, what you've done, whatever, or your trip if you're out touring, and you can reset one for fuel mileage as well. Fuel gauge, temperature gauge. Some past owner has added this absolutely shite fake carbon Kevlar. I hate it, but it looks shit, so I might just leave it on. There is a knack to the ignition key, which I won't be telling everybody, but this was almost going to be my first big bike when I passed my test. I ended up having the ZXR 400, a bike which was colossally better than me. So one thing I have got to do, I want to put fresh brake fluid in the brakes, pump those through. The brakes aren't sticking on or anything, but we've got 4-pot Tockies either side. This is a 150 mile an hour plus bike at the end of the day. Also, to access the rear brake fluid, hand gestures, rear brake fluid reservoir and the coolant reservoir, you need to take the right hand side panel off, but side panels are pretty easy. And the great thing about the Z over the ZX10, we have that to undo the seat instead of having to take side panels off, unbolt the seat, so that's instantly easier to live with. Now there is a little tray missing from under here on top of the battery. I have got it. It's it's over there behind the ABBA stand, but there is a little tray that goes in there to provide a little bit of storage, and then you've got what was your original document holder and tool roll holder there. Most of the I made up a toolkit for the ZX10 which I've took out because I think John's already got one for his, but the side panel removal was pretty easy. Take the grab rail off. I'm going to replace a lot of these fasteners, look, because they're like this and they're okay, but I don't really like Allen headed fasteners. They are just asking to be rounded off by a gorilla. So I'm going to put some nice bolts in there. So yeah, behind there, then we've got a screw behind here. We take the little grab rail clips. If you're not seeing that, look folks, when motorcycles used to be practical, look, bungee hooks. Yeah, find them on a brand new bike now that's stowaway. So they've got to come out, because obviously they bolt the panel to the frame, and there's a couple of fasteners down the front that need to come out, and then the main bolt is already out of the tank, and there's a couple of bolts up front which again I'm going to replace. For shiny ones, I'm not a bling merchant, never have been, but when I've got an otherwise, you might disagree, but when I've got an otherwise tidy bike, I like to sort out rusty fasteners. They do my head in. Don't mind brake caliper bolts or anything like that, but stuff that I'm going to be looking at, like these, I will either buy new, clean up and paint, or I'll put shiny things on, but that is it. That is my extension of bling. Ooh, I could have some red anodized bolts, but no, stop it, Jim. Stop it. You're not buying any red anodized shit. So that's what we've got to do to get the tank off, basically. The fuel tap's there with its 3 pipes that I've just explained. A very odd arrangement. The carb tinkles are here. Your airbox goes all the way over here, and the actual airbox filter is massive. It's like that big. It's huge. And then coming in from the front, front of the fairing, hidden by these panels, you've got ram air ducts. This was a genuine ram air bike, I do believe, along with the ZZR 1100 new model which came along at the same time. They were the first production ram air bike. I might have been wrong on that, but it was definitely first Kawasaki ram air bike, proper ram air bike. If you remember, the ZXRs had the Hoover pipes here into the tank, which I always thought looked fantastic, and from a rider's point of view they were brilliant. It was like piloting a starfighter. But the induction noise you used to get off a ZXR was enormous. It used to be louder than the exhaust. It almost sounded like when you're on full chat, it sounded like there was a bike directly at your side. So it sounded like 2 bikes. It was amazing. First time I ever rode a ZZR 600 was the D model. It was a brand new one, coming for a service from a chap that used to go at the bike shop. Really nice chap called Simon Patel, who he was trained to be an airline pilot. He subsequently became an airline pilot. He's now retired. Lovely bloke, really lovely bloke. And he had a black and silver ZZR. I think we were still on the D models then. And oh no, it could have been an E. I know it was a ZZR 6. Let's put it like that. And I did the post-service test ride on it, and I had to take my friend Gary back home, which is only a couple of miles up the road. And Phil says, "Oh, take the ZZR. You can give it a little shakedown run beforehand." So I went, "Yeah, okay." And I got on the Z, and Gaz got on the back, and Gaz was taller than me. I'm 5'8", and Gaz would be about 6'2", 6'4", and he got on the back, and I took him out of the village, down into Leicester, and he lived just on the sort of outskirts of Leicester City, so in the city but not in the city, if you see what I mean. And we got there, and I pulled up outside his flat, and I went, "That didn't feel very fast, did it?" And it didn't. It's one of those bikes where you really do have to. It's like the ZXR. You really have to rev it to get it to go. But it was the ZZR hides its speed really well. And Gaz just looked at me, and he went, "You're fucking joking, aren't you?" He goes, "My shoes have been in your armpits all the way." Now, I never felt it at all, but obviously he did on the back. So there you go. So I am looking forward to riding this. I've always wanted, it's another box ticker, always wanted one, tick. Whenever one became available, either I already had another bike I quite liked, or couldn't afford it. So we've got one now, and I do love this red. This is an absolutely non-standard colour. A previous owner has painted this. I don't quite know what red it is, whether it's Ducati or whatever. Ferrari. Ferrari red. Uncle Steve, because I called it Red the Z when we first got it. Another obvious nickname is ZZ Top, because it's a ZZR and sorry, ZZR in the UK, darling. So it's ZZ Top. No, Red the Z I think sticks quite well. I think that suits it very well, Red the Z. But Uncle Steve calls it DL, which is slightly annoying because it stands for dog's lipstick. Yes, Uncle Steve, it's the dog's bollocks, not the dog's lipstick. Anyway, Uncle Steve's VFR. Waiting on the caliper from Throttle God Andy, Uncle Maz. He'll crack on with it. When I get the caliper, we can finish off rebuilding the front end. I don't want to put the mud guard on and stuff because there are hose guides and stuff which have to be slotted in, and there's no point fitting them until the calipers are ready to go on. One thing I did notice, on the bottom yoke there's a broken bolt which holds the line splitter and the horn. I want to get that out, so we'll either we'll do that, or it'll go tappy 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 with the chisel and it will come out. I've also got to finish plumbing in the tank. I've got to plumb in the tank, but the tank needs to come off again because Uncle Steve wanted the new choke cable fitted and stuff like that, and so yes, I wanted to do that, but I was very impatient with it and I wanted to hear it run again, so so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to put you back in the stand now, and we'll probably do a fast forward montage of me taking the panels off and then scratching my head profusely trying to work out how to get the tank off, when in reality it's 2 bolts there, 1 bolt there, fuel line to the carbs. That should be it. Oh, along with the fuel level sender wanker, which isn't currently plugged in, I don't think, because the fuel gauge isn't working, so that suggests the sender isn't plugged in. So right, enough waffle, thank God, Jim, and let's get on with it. So there you are, that's the side panel removal on the ZZ Top. Oh, what have we got there? Look. Ooh, so yeah, nice and easy, a lot easier than the ZX10. To get the rear bodywork off the ZX10 was a pain in the anus. There's also a little bit under here which pops into some rubber grommes, and there should be some screws under here just to clip the other bit in, which I will replace. Let's just clean up the rear light while we're here, because why not? But yeah, I mean, overall pretty tidy fare. It's a 93 bike, so probably manufactured 92, who knows. But oh, hang on, but this is how you get to your rear brake reservoir. CDI box is there. This is fuse box junction up here, and then we've got rear brake reservoir. We're gonna have to work out what that is. That's either going to be flasher relay or fuel pump relay, one of the two. It looks like we need a little top up on coolant, so I shall just top up for now until I flush that coolant through, which at some point I will do, but I'll probably wait until I service it. I just want to get it running now, with the potential of having this MOT'd instead. is I'm just going to put distilled water in, really. But what I will do at some point is, if I remove that side fairing piece, the infill, I should be able to get access to the rad cap, and we can actually check the fluid level properly. Because why half-arse it? Because it's you, Jim. That looks like the original Kawasaki Reg Rec. Kawasaki's not known for much trouble with the Reg Recs, but it's always a potential for them to go bad. Starter solenoid there. Wiring loom looks better nicked than the Aprilia. Now this is the oh, I could have sat down, look, but there's a toolbox on my little seat. Oh, let's move the toolbox. Fan heater. I'll just turn that off for a second while I talk to you people of the internet. Right, here is the fuel tap, Jim. Call it what it is. The fuel tap, and generally what I like to do is get the tappy bit off, just this bit off, and spray some lubricant like fluid film, something like that, just behind it, or WD, just so it gets behind this plate here. Oh, hang on, I haven't had my morning poo yet. So little bit of a weird setup on this one. This pipe here, it goes up there, and it goes a little bit further along, goes to a little filter in the tank around this level. That is your main fuel feed, and then this pipe goes underneath, and there's another fuel filter, little gauze one that you see on a normal fuel tap, which bolts to, you know, the inside of a tank rather than the outside, and that is for your reserve. There's approximately a gallon reserve on these. I think it's a US gallon, but that gives you a gallon reserve. Now it is quite possible to get 200 miles out of a tank on one of these if you're nice and steady. 150 on normal would be fine, you know, 130. If it can get me like Chroma on a tank, or, you know, like Weatherby Services or something like that, then we're good. But this is, so that's your feed for the main, that's your feed for the reserve, and then this is the one that goes to the fuel pump and carburetors. So to remove the tank, obviously the bottom bolt's out, those two bolts are out now. All we need to do is undo that. Uncle Barnyard had to put you on the tank. Uncle Barnyard's just been in for an early morning chat. He says he saw the shed light on and thought, bloody idiot's left the shed light on. No, he said then he saw I'd moved some bikes about, and then knew I was in. Anyway, what I'm looking at the minute is, I've only put about a gallon in this. Probably just short of a gallon. That's not fuel leaking, by the way. I've just, I always get a bit of WD-40 behind that bit, because it just makes the tap easier to turn. Speaking of which, when I took the tap off, I made a schoolboy error and pulled the tap off. You keep your hand under it when you do it, because as you can see there is a little spring in there, and a ball bearing sits on that spring, and the ball bearing goes in these little 3 detents, so you get a feeling of click, click, click for the 3 settings: off, res and main, or on. And something went tinkle 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 on the floor, and yes, it's the ball bearing. Fortunately I have a bag of very small ball bearings, because I needed them for the GS, and so I do have ball bearings, but because I've got a reasonably clean floor, I'm going to get my little magnet and just go, and hopefully we'll find the ball bearing. If not, like I say, I've got some, so it's nothing major. Anyway, prior to taking the tank off, I've replaced the clamp for a proper hose clamp which doesn't dig in, because the clamp that was on it was like a cheap Chinese shite. But I did notice when I moved the petroleum tap to on, which remember is this feed here, which goes up, and it probably goes somewhere like this, that fuel level is probably about there at least, if not higher. Obviously I mentioned it before, it's a 4-gallon tank. Nothing came out, and I've had it on when I've been trying to start the bike, if that makes sense. Jim, it's you. It never makes sense. Nothing was coming out. Pipe was bone dry. And I thought, ooh. So just as a wee test, I thought, oh, the filter's blocked, so I'm going to have the filter out. And then I turned it to a reserve and got good flow. Because the fuel level at the minute, I've only got a gallon in it. The bottom of the tank is down here. A gallon is only going to be about here. So it's probably not even enough for the fuel gauge to register, funnily enough, or it will register below empty, if you see what I mean, because not all that fuel is usable. So yes, I've just left it on reserve for a minute and just let it flow to the pump, and then it's way too early to be starting this at the minute. It's still only about 6:30, 7 o'clock. If I was going to work, not an issue, start it up the road. But this has a Micron race can on it, and I don't know how loud or nice it is. So I am not going to start it at the minute, but I've now turned the tap off, but I'm going to put the tap on reserve. I've cleaned the contact for the pump relay and give the relay a little knock, just in case it's sticking, because the turn relay is somewhere around here, because you can hear it. You can hear the click for the indimificators down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till later and see if we can get it going on reserve. If we can get it going on reserve, I'm going to put a shit ton of Red X in it and then go and get some more fuel, top the level up, make sure we've got flow on normal, and then if it runs okay, it's a 50-50. If it's been stored with no fuel in it, it might be fine. If it runs okay, runs cleanly, it's a Kawasaki 4, so it's going to cough, fart and belch until it's warm anyway. There may be no need to take the carburetors off. So that's where I'm at now. So I'm going to wait a couple of hours until it's like a reasonably sociable hour, and then I'm going to try and start it on reserve. But in the meantime, I might just go and get another can of fuel, because like I say, the fuel level is very low at the minute. So that's where we are. So fingers crossed, we may not need to strip the carbs. Hello. So anyway, tanks off, dead easy. 1 bolt at the back, 2 bolts at the front, and a wire for the fuel sender, which wasn't plugged in. I know John's had the tank off, and I know him and the guys at the bike shop. They had about 2 hours setting the carbs up before. So I think what I'm going to do is I want to unplug the fuel pump, and then with the aid of some probulation devices, I'm going to put 12 volts to it directly and see if it's working. There is fuel going to the fuel filter, fuel going to the fuel pump, but I don't know whether it's going to the pump, to the chibly dingles, so we'll soon find out. But I'm going to take the top of the airbox off bare minimum and just examine the condition of the air filter A. So that's what I'm going to do now. Yes, and so fast montage. Right, the good news is filters clean, and the bad news is somebody mullered the screen putting it in. It is easily done. I struggled with it as well when I did the other ZZR. Some interesting racing modifications there. Methinks the original probably fairing ducting to the airbox for the ram air is defunct, and somebody's made something up, which is fair enough. Age of the bike and everything, it's had 5 owners, so you know you only need one of them to be a fuckwit. But yes, so there's the fuel pump and the filter, and the filter's getting fuel. thought that looked a little bit wet then, but I don't think it is. But the way to check actually is you're going to get fuel anyway. Stick a towel under the pump and take this top one off. There's actually writing on that pump, unless it's a serial number. So yes, I'm going to take that pipe off, make sure it's chucking fuel out. That's the wire for the fuel sender, so that's not a problem. There is a pipe missing, crankcase breather into airbox. Ideally that needs to be replaced, otherwise it's going to get crank mist shit everywhere, so that will have to be sourced at some point. I might even have a pipe. I might even have a pipe that will do that actually. I've got an old braided line off the VMAX which may just do that. We shall see. Anyway, air filter's good, so we're happy. But yeah, I'm going to take that pipe off now and just see if the pump is pumpulating. Because it's easier to get it out from there than it is from under the carby chinkles. One thing I might do as well is try and drain a float bowl and see what's what, see if there's actually fuel getting in the carby tinkly winkies, and so go from there really. Well folks, I think I've found the issue. We're getting fuel to the pump just like in the ZX, and it should be a pretty good flow, good enough to fill the bowls and shit up. So let's just prod the starter. Go on, here, come on, you bastard, and have a look at the flow. I think, folks, I'm just going to try a gravity line straight to it. Now, I know the pump was replaced. Standing really doesn't do them any good. You can agitate the diaphragm inside to get it working again, so I could actually shove a pick in there, a blunt-ended pick, and just see what's what. The pump's sort of working because fuel, you can see it's doing something with the fuel in the filter. There's a little bit sort of happening, but nothing's coming out the other end. I'm wondering if it's actually plumbed in the right way. Sounds odd, sounds daft, but I am going to go and have a look, because this orientates as it is. I'm going to go and have a look on the parts marker fiche, because it does state which is to carb and which is from tank. It could be as simple as it's the wrong way around. I don't know. I doubt it though, because it did shove a little bit out. I think it's the right way around. It could well be, but I don't know. But also, I don't feel the relay clicking. I'm pretty sure that's the fuel pump relay. I might be wrong. Usually I'm, Jim, but I don't know, because it's the only other relay I can think is that you've got a turny one, which is here, and a fuel pump one, which I'm sure is there. I'm going to have a quick look on the Google machine, I think. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, that is our problem, because if I bet you now, if I rigged up a fuel supply to this, straight to this, it'd fill the bowls and go. I think that fuel pump has packed up. Yes. Well folks, we have surmised that the fuel pump has packed up, probably through just standing idle. I might be able to purificate it, so I've got it off the bike. It's down by my feet that you can't see. So I've plugged up the intravenous, and I'm just filling the carb bowls up, and then we'll see if it starts. Because if it starts on that, then we know it's a fuel pump issue. I've put a shitload of like petrol cleanery shit in there, so it's got quite a strong dose of an injector cleaner, which is basically Red X. So I've done that, and we'll just see if it starts. It's Uncle Barnyard, ladies and gentlemen. So there we go. It's a fuel issue. It's the pump. It's Uncle Barnyard in his Uncle Barnyard attire. Yes, it's the pump. The pump is not pumpulating.
Oh dear.
But it starts.
Right.
It might have to go get some air in the tyres and go for a lap of my grandmother's private test track.
Yes, absolutely.
Not that you condone any illegal activity. No. And yes, I tell you what, let's put it on the trailer and we'll take it to work, and I can rag it as much as I like around the access roads.
Yeah.
But yes, no, not too loud. It's all right. It's acceptable. But it runs, which is cool. So what I'll probably do now is, obviously we've got to examine the pump of fuelage and see if I can get that working. What? Lazy cow. So, what was I saying before I got interrupted by barnyard engineering? I'm probably just going to try running it on a gravity line. Just take that pipe off, put a new filter in, take that pipe off and just run it straight to the carbs, because that's what I did with the ZX. Now I need to find a bit of pipe to make a breather up. What the what are you doing? Do you actually know what? You could have had a burn up today, because I've got loads of boxes that need to be burned.
Vanessa's throwing a wash in there.
Well, you can
Put this under my ramshackle shed.
Yes.
And dry it out.
Oh, okay. Right. That's the idea. Is it actually plan of action for today?
Well, for now.
Right. Okay.
Just there, look.
Just there. Look. Yeah, I'm not really interested, to be honest. Oh, right. I see. Yeah. Oh, right, yes, along with everything else required to be drying out. Lovely.
Probably end up fucking burning it.
Yes. Say goodbye, Uncle Barnyard. Right, so I've got the cappage off the pumpage, and this is the contacts for the pump. This is the bit that goes tick, 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 basically. It's a bit like an exposed solenoid. And I'm guessing that's half of it and that's the other half. As you can see, there is some rustage, so I'm going to clean this up and then I'm going to make up some probe wires and see if we can get it working, because it was interesting that this was hot, so this is trying to work, I think, and it can't. Just like a solenoid, when it gets the pulse from the relay, it's like that. It's a bit like a points ignition. Right, ladies and gents, I've rigged up some test wireage. I'm just going to spray some fluid in there. Now remember, we were getting absolutely nothing before, so let's see what happens and try not to blow myself up. So this, I'll put the camera on the contacts. Oh, you fucker. Yes, I've just spunked all over it. Come on, you little fucker. Okay, so I think it's safe to say we've got the pump working, and all it required was a little bit of a clean up. So I'm going to put some WD-40 in there, just to stop the contacts and shit going. But it'd be interesting to see now. I'm going to plug it into the bike, press the button of fireage, and that should do exactly the same. If not, then it's the relay, and the relay can probably just be hit with a gentle tapping stick. So it is the relay. The pump works, and the relay is basically, it's a fuel cut-off relay. When the ignition is on, it opens the pump up, and when it's off, it closes it. So that isn't working. It's funny enough, because the contacts in the pump are working fine, and when you turn the ignition off, it spurts a little bit out. So yeah, that's working. It's the relay.
Sorry folks, the camera cut out. I do believe I was on about the relay. Actually, it says it's a relay. It's actually described. I'll show you it. It's here, and it's actually a fuel pump cut-off, basically, and it's that's at fault. If I put, as you've seen, when I put 12 volts straight to the pump, it spunked it everywhere. But going through the relay, it didn't want to know. It doesn't work, so the relay's duff, and it's a sealed enclosed relay. So anyway, I have found one on the Jungle website, Amazon. I had a look at Wemoto. They don't do them, although they could no doubt get one. And I had a look on eBay, plenty about. It seems to be quite a popular aftermarket part, so it's obviously known to do it. But it was going to be like a week's postage or whatever, I don't know. So I had a look on the Jungle website and got one for 20 quid, and it'll be here Friday. And I'm off Friday because I've got to go for my diabetic eye test, so I do still retain the option of taking either bike for an MOT because I've booked the slot. All I've got to do is let him know which bike I'm taking, really. It's just polite to give them the reg, so it's booked in. Anyway, John also gave me some pipe work for the bike, and I'm thinking that this could possibly be the breather pipe that I'm actually looking for, because he adapted the it might do, that other bit might fit. He adapted the airbox, or a previous owner adapted the airbox, whatever, but I've got to get the carbs off, so I am now in the process of getting the carbs off. So I will bring you back when I've got the carby tinkles off, and then we can get them on the bench, strip the bum end out and get all the jets and stuff cleaned up. In theory, this could all be back together today, and I can rebuild it back to the point where all I've got to do is keep this side panel off and refit the relay and flatulence. I've got a can of Pepsi Cherry on the go at the moment. Yes. Oh, by the way, there isn't a delay in filming for you, but there has been for us for a couple of hours, because me and Uncle Barnyard have just been to the Welcome Calf at Melton Mowbray and had this. And delicious it was too. I also had a sausage and bacon cob, yes, and then I brought home a couple of cheese scones, a pasty, and a quiche. Yes, so yes, so you got to do these things, haven't you? So yes, so I'll bring you back when I've got the carbs off. Here you go. That's your airbox off. Coils either side there, and gubbins. I can see somebody's done a homemade air duct. This is the other air duct. Now these are, or were, notoriously difficult, pains in the arses to line up the airbox normally. I think I will source the proper duct, because this, although it might work, it's going to annoy the shit out of me. The bike will run perfectly well without the air ducting, but you lose the ram air. If you're not an horsepower freak, it doesn't matter, you can have the airbox as is and just have it drawing still air through there. It will work perfectly well. So yes, we've got yes, choke cable there's working. The throttle cable needs, these are for the airbox. I think they might come off the cylinder head as like a breather into the airbox as well. But yeah, there's a bit of slack in the throttle cableage, which is why she's not snapping back, and they must snap back for an MOT basically, or at least we'd want them to. That's the fuel feed into the bottom, and then you've got this is an air feed. This comes from the air system. Oh, nice air system, and then goes into each bank of carbs. So yeah, that's something new to look out for. But yeah, otherwise, I'm guessing that these trumpets and stuff will each unbolt separately. There's probably no need to move it, as long as we can get to the clamps that hold the carby tinkles on. The fuel is already disconnected. We'll just see how simple it is to disconnect the whatchamacallits that I've just temporarily forgot the name of, or the cables. See how easy that is. We may just have to take this plate off just to get it better access to the plate of throttles. But other than that, it's been okay so far. It's been fairly simple. The tank's easy to get off, the bodywork's easy to get off, so much easier to work on than the ZX10. So yeah, we'll see. I might just pop a couple of the plugs out while I've got it all exposed, and you know, we can see. But yeah, so far so good. Right, carby tinkly winkly woo woos are off. I've just found it easier to split the throttle and take the cables out the throttle end to give me all the free play to get them out this end, because access getting it when they're poltergeist when they're all attached is quite tight. It's a lot easier to do that. The only other thing to watch for, which I've never had to do on any other Kawasaki, is that this obviously has water cooling through the float bowls as well, so it warms the carbs up in the winter. So there's a couple of unions. There's one there which I've chucked a bolt in, and there's one the other side. They do have like little one-way valves in them anyway, so you hardly lose any coolant at all. It's quite easy. There's a tiny puddle, but these now are ready to go on the bench. It will piss a little bit of coolant out and perhaps a little bit of fuel, but this is the fuel that's come out. Yes, a little bit cloudy. Full enough, the two middle ones were quite good, so perhaps the two middle ones were empty and they're filled with the clear fuel, and the outer two are shitty, but it's not that bad apart from the colour of it, which is disgusting. It's probably the old fuel. Yeah, not too bad. That was probably just the shit that was at the bottom of the tank. So now, carbs on the bench. Let's get the bottoms and the jets out. Benny and the Jets, Elton John. But other than that, yes, quite good. That other bit of tube is slightly too short to be the breather, I think, but I think I can make something up. I don't want to run it without a breather, because otherwise you get all oil mist out of there, and you know, once everything's buttoned up, we're never going to get in there. So yes, but on the whole, not too bad a job at all. I'm going to rearrange the sort of the orientation of some of these clips. They're actually easy to get to. It's just that it's dark and I can't. Stop making excuses, Jim, honestly. Just stop. Yes. Well, I've took the coolant rail off. Yeah. Just to make access a little bit easier to the float bowls. I think everything would have come off okay. But, well, I don't know. We'll see. So I'm now going to take each float bowl off and put them individually down on a bit of towel, but I'm going to chuck all the screws in there. There's just a little bit of I walked into the shed and I tripped over this, and the drain screws went fucking everywhere, so I've just spent the last half an hour looking for them. So anyway, much swearing was done, but now we're going to buzz these out and have a look. Yes. That's not bad. It's enough to block a jet, but it's not bad. So, yes, where's the little idle? There's our little idle. Right. Do 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 do. Will that reach? Not quite. I think I've got to get a slightly broader headed screwdriver and one that hasn't got the electrical insulation on. So I'll bring you back then. Yes. Oh yeah. Do. That is possibly about 10 mil. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to carry on, and then when we've got all the jets and everything out, then we'll chuck them in the aqua jiggler. So all the jets are out, and I'm just blowing them through. I've got to get some carb cleaner, really. But yeah, all the float bowls, little bit of shittage, but not a lot, not bad at all, really. I think some of the issue is just stale fuel, to be honest. I can blow through all the jets, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're doing what they're doing. This is wheel cleaner. This was a suggestion by Mr. Mark Redbeard, and he says just soak them in wheel cleaner first, and then I'll give them a go in the old aqua jiggler. And basically what it does, it pickles them. So yes, we'll do that. The float bowls have got to go in the aqua jiggler. We'll clean them up properly. And like I say, everything else, not bad. They're just the all the fixing screws and the drain screws and what have you. There was a tiny little bit of shite come out when draining, but not a lot. But then again, you don't need a lot to block a jet. One thing I am very tempted to do is just take the air screw mixtures out. They all look fairly even, which is good, and just take those out and then just blow through the passages there, because that's part of the running circuit as well. That sets your air fuel mixture, whether you're lean or rich. So yeah, not bad so far. It's not going too bad, but then again, I'm not rushing it. You know, my impatience is not impatient with this, because I've got a quick little job to do on the Aprilia. So the dilemma is still, I mean by the end of this video you'll know, but the dilemma is still, do I go and MOT the Aprilia and then have to wait, you know, a week, probably 2 weeks to tax it, which means I'm going to be sitting at home going, you've got a bike and it's MOT'd and insured and I can't fucking ride it. Or do I just get this together and take this up on Saturday? So I don't know yet. At least I've got the option of both. I mean, Phyllis is completely legal, so I can still bum around on Phyllis if I need to get a little two-wheeled fix. But yeah, we'll see. We'll make a decision by then at some point. Yes, nice, lovely, beautiful. Jim, shut the camera off. Nicely cooked and beautifully clean. Yes, nice. The jets and everything are in there. I will fish them out and dry those through. Yes, in other news, follow me. Come on, that's it. I have just routed and secured the brake pipe, put heat shrink on the wiring for the brake pedal. It all works. Everything works. And I've just ran it up for 10 minutes. It's a good little starter. Let's find out whether she'll do it for you. Ignizione. There we go. Lovely. So yeah, all ready for the MOT. Everything works. So we'll see.
Turn it off.
There we go. Yes, beautiful. So yes, that's him. Hello Red, hello Charlie. So that's it for this one. That's just progress on the carburettors. Nice. I shall do a part 2 of the carburettors when I've got them all back together. Yes, beverage. All the jets are now clear. I've just sprayed some spray through them, and you know, the emulsion jets are emulsioning basically. They're coming out all little holes, which they should, and the jets are all clear, and the idles are all clear. So what I'm going to do now is chuck them all back in, and it's basically the reverse of what I did. So no need to see it really, but yeah. It's been a good day. Aprilia's tucked up, Phyllis is tucked up, and the ZZR is doing ZZR stuff. Yes, nice. Yes. Follow on video. I've checked coolant level. It needed a little bit, not much. Probably half a cupage. Or if we're going by the American measuring system, 27 fluid giraffes. Right. I have ordered the proper inductione pipe. I found some second-hand plenums. So I've bought the lot because it was cheaper to buy those than it was actually one pipe. So yes, this goes into airbox. Basically, when you put the airbox on, this and that go underneath, and I don't know whether, I think these are just drains. That goes in, and you feed the trumpets of the airboxes into these, or vice versa, they go in, whatever. So anyway, we've got the other one coming. Carbs are back on. The faff with that was putting the water cooling back on actually, because I struggled a little bit doing that, but we have adapted and overcome, so that's all good. This is connected to part of the ram air system, and it's also it's a vapour vent basically, so it's probably something to do with emissions at the end of the day, but this ends up in I think in the airbox eventually. Pumpage we know works, that's over there, so that's, oh it's over there, hi. This is as far as I'm going to get tonight, because it's now about 8 o'clock. I work till 6. It's now about 8 o'clock, so I've had half an hour, but yes, check the coolant, that's all good. It's just a little bit dusty under here and what have you. What do you expect, sort of thing. But yeah, I shall cover these up. I had a sticking throttle before, and now I've played around with all the adjusters. There's 3. There's one on the pull, and then there's pull and return there, and we've got a nice snappy throttle, which is good. I moved the brake master cylinders just to get better access to the cableage behind here, but I will bleed the brakes. So, oh yes, I've had a shiny new indicator come, because the rear left is broken. It's just had the corner broken off it, and it does me head in, so I'm replacing it because it was cheap. So yeah, so it is, you know, getting ready to go back together, and yeah, the relay should be here Friday, this little fella, and then what I'm going to do, probably tomorrow night, I'll come in, refit the pump, and then I can pre-feed the pipe that's on the pump. You can probably just see it there with the filter. I can pre-feed that with fuel from the intravenous combustion liquid. So I can pre-fill that pipe, and in theory, when I replace the relay, this is all theory, and then we go hot on the button and press the starter, that pump should then spunk out. If it spunks out, we've cured it. If it doesn't, I'm going to go with the gravity line. So, you know, there's always options, but the relay was cheap enough, it's worth a go, especially as the pump's working. I know the pump was new. So this, at this moment, is where we are. So right now this video might be running as about either an hour or 20 minutes, or we've cut it down into a couple of parts, but either way, oh good, nice. I'm going to take one of the pluggies out now and have a look.